key issues that I had with making these films was I had no experience of filming any sort of documentary or film before, fictional, non-fiction. I actually felt a bit more freedom than I thought I would. Although we had our constraints or rules for each film, I actually feel that these guided me rather than restricted me. This film, and as you can see here, in about 2 seconds or so, yeah, the drop. So this actually happened and this camera fell into the sea and it died. The first film I made, my camera died. So good stuff, good start. I then decided to use this camera. It's called a HTC RE. It's an action camera and is similar to a GoPro but about a quarter of the price. Being a student, I had this already. It cost about £70 and it was good and it actually gave me a lot of freedom. So in August, for preparation for this module, I decided to buy the Guerrilla Filmmaking book. I accidentally bought two. One is here at home in Hampshire and one is at university in my student accommodation. So that was another mistake I made prior to coming to university and also inflicted the budget. Someone in my family actually in the film cheated on their partner with someone else in the film, so I put them in the film and it ended up being a bit of a dispute back home. I then took it off social media because I didn't want to upset the person in question, but actually I feel as if I've been stripped of what I thought I was achieving at the time. I'd argue Lackrock was the most difficult film to make. I had to use a mobile phone, that's why I'm using it now, just to give a bit of reference. I really enjoyed making it in Spain, but it was very much a spontaneous decision and a spur of the moment decision. I think that it's probably my weakest of the four, but I think it has some links to inequality, maybe not the sense of answering the question of what is equality or asking someone else that, but being able to talk to strangers and especially having someone who could translate at the same time was great. And I think it was important for me to do something different with every film, and this was certainly something different, and I felt like the issues in Barcelona were definitely brought up predominantly whilst I was there. So research was key for this work. I think especially the Spanish film and the Andover film. I sat with a lady called Maureen for hours and got down to the nitty-gritty of Andover and the important stages that many people don't really know about. So I found that quite endearing to sit with her. She's a wonderful lady and I owe her a lot for this movie and I'm very proud of it. I remember in year one watching Waltz with Bashir at university, and the shock factor that came into that was very important for me. I loved the film. I also think of Island of Flowers, which also has the shock factor in it as well, and that was something that I wanted to achieve with Home as a Fishbowl, having a whole movie in which you think it's going one way and then actually it takes you to that shock of there is homelessness here, there is a lack of retail here, the town is dying here, and I wanted that shock because I think a lot of people are complaining and not actually showing what's going on here, and I think that's a big issue in the town.
Why did you make Hi Mum, It's Me like you did?
I knew that this would be one of the only things my mum saw from university that I did. I knew she wouldn't read my dissertation and she declined even when I asked her to read it. She's a very visual person just like me and I really wanted that to come across. I also thought that she was the one who pushed me to go to university in the first place when I didn't really want to go, and I'm glad she did, because if this is the only thing that comes out of it, that kind of makes her proud of me and gives her a little bit of an extra understanding, then I've done my job essentially, and I owed it to her really. I made Mind the Gap the way I did because I was getting on a train every day before work and seeing lots of men in blue suits with a secure job and a secure lifestyle who were laughing and joking on the way to work and on the way back from work, and it made me really think about how refugees don't even have that choice to be in that blue suit on the tube. And the water was really special to me. I made it paramount, and it was almost a character in the film, and I think it was very important to have that gap to talk about Mind the Gap, but really it was a metaphor for what I wanted to address, that refugees and the refugee crisis really should be of note even when you're on a tube. One of our tasks was to make a film about what is home using only photographs. Now, Ryan Shan talks about in his work with limitations and possibilities about patterns and the change of patterns, and how pictures are actually structural bases for culture and how the status quo is seen through photos. Now, I think that to take from that the status quo, in my film, the photos actually were developing through the film to show the difference of the status quo. So actually the disequilibrium of what I was trying to show, and I think that the message came across that I'm certainly unhappy about the town and others can be too. A lot of my filmmaking was done alone, and in Wu Wengyang's work about individual filmmaking, he talks about the difference between making a film on your own and how documentary filmmaking especially used to be a group exercise. Now, I found it was quite difficult to get people to come along with me. In the end, I had to ask my mum and her friend to help me with one, because I think if you are being creative and you're creating a film, sometimes people think that there are added pressures, when actually, if it's coming from my mind, the pressure is kind of on my shoulders to put forward my ideas, and I think people had the pressure on them to do the same. Now, I would welcome any of their thoughts, but at the same time I think it would have been a bit more problematic to have other people there, because I would have been trying to get it done at a fast pace, and sometimes that can be restricted when you're with more than one person. But then I'd argue against what Wu Wengyang is saying, because actually when I had a translator there with me, my friend Alex, he helped me massively, because I didn't have the skills that he had, and those intertwined skills of me filming and him translating at the same time helped to create the Spanish film Lac Groc in a shorter amount of time than maybe if I didn't have a translator at hand right there and then. One thing I'm proud of with this module is I can walk away and say I did the best of my ability. I wasn't judged on how well I'd written, which I found very, very difficult at university, and I can speak in a room in front of people for a long time and feel confident about what I'm saying and give input in class, and then go to write a paper and find it very, very difficult. So this gave me a fantastic opportunity to really get my views across through film, and I thank you for it, and I hope that this is the start of something that I'll engage with for the foreseeable future. Alexa, define reflection.
Sorry, your Echo lost its connection.
Jake,
Yeah?
do you want to be a video game player or a filmmaker?